Good morning, friends. Today we are going to learn for your semester second, module number 5th, part B. The prose, the short story. Why does the child cry? The story is written by Mulk Raj Anand, one of the greatest Indian English novelists who belongs to the pre-independence and post-independence era. That is, he experienced the situations of post-independence era as well and the pre-independence era, the British Raj and the conditions in the society. And now here we are going to learn what is the biographical details of Mulk Raj Anand in short and about the story. In the previous lectures, we learned about all the modules which are about the communication skills, that is, business correspondence, telephonic communication, and English for specific purposes. Now, after this, development of your particular communication skills, especially the writing skills, and in telephonic communication, you learn the development of your spoken skills. And now we move towards the what is the prose and poetry, the part of reading comprehension in your textbook. There are Why Does the Child Cry by Mulk Raj Anand, module 5th, part B. After that, module 6th, there is another short story by Guy the Maupassant, The Necklace. In module number 7th, there is a poem I Thank You God by Bernard Daddy. In module 8th, there is two poems and one story, that is War, Legugi Pirandello, and The Cuckoo by William Wordsworth, and poem Let Me Not the Marriage of True Minds by William Shakespeare. Now we will start from the module 5th, part B, the first short story prescribed for you for your semester second, that is Why Does the Child Cry by Mulk Raj Anand. See, in your textbook there are biographical details given in very short, that is Mulk Raj Anand, his period 1905 to 2004, is an Indian writer in English. He is notable for his depiction of the lives of the poorest caste in traditional Indian society. See, he represents the traditional Indian society throughout his works, whether it is a fiction or non-fiction work, whether it is a short story or the novels. If you know his famous novel Untouchable, you will understand how he depicted the lives of the poorest caste in the traditional Indian society. He is admired for his novels and short stories, which have noted for their perspective, insight into the lives of the oppressed, and their analysis of impoverishment, exploitation, and misfortune. He presented in his stories the misfortune of the characters, exploitation of the characters or the people due to the casteism and impoverishment. Anand has published nearly 40 books, fiction and non-fiction. He was a recipient of the civilian honor of the Padma Bhushan in 1966, and he also won Sahitya Akademi Award for his novel Morning Face in 1968. In 1971, He is also the winner of the International Peace Prize due to his subject in the fictions. He won the International Peace Prize award. His Best Indian Short Stories, Volume First, was edited by Kushwant Singh, and here the story from that edited book, Why Does the Child Cry, is prescribed for you for your semester second and is one of the best short stories of Mulkraj Anand. See, although narrated from the third person's perspective, the protagonist of the story is 7-year-old Abdul Latif, who lives with his parents in a village in Bengal. It is a terribly sad, heartbreaking story about senseless cruelty and how the innocent victims suffer most in absurd wars. Why it is called as absurd wars? Because it has no meaning. Religious wars. If you know the historical events from Indian history, you will understand it is a great historical events about the religious wars, communal violence at the time of the partition. So here this heartbreaking story presents us the senseless cruelty of the religious war. Abdul was not mentally bright. Here we can understand how the story of 7-year-old boy and how he is presented as a protagonist of the story. Abdul was not mentally bright, but he is very agile physically. He is all over the village and everybody loves him. He loves hunting birds and fishing with his friend Ali. This is about that boy who is 7 years old and how he presented the particular event of the religious war in the in his village is presented in this story by the point of view of the protagonist, 7-year-old boy Abdul Latif. The short story outline from your textbook, that is, one day Abdul comes home and finds his house is destroyed. He runs through the village and everywhere there are dead bodies. He has no understanding of the religious wars that were tearing apart the subcontinent. He begins to run through the village in a panic when he sees a tank looking for his friend Ali, who always helped him. The scenes he sees are depicted with great passion and veracity. See, here in story outline, we can understand how the protagonist of the story run throughout the village and there are only dead bodies in that village due to the religious war, but he was a 7-year-old boy and he never understand what happened. And when we read the story, it is very heart touching story about the religious war and it is an eye opening story how we never understand about the community uh, community and equality in the community. But here is a presentation of religious war. We can understand how it is dangerous for the society. See actual story of the uh, Mulkraj Anand. Why does the child cry? The beginning of the story, that is Abdul Latif, the potter's son, was called late Latif by everyone. Why he is called late Latif? Because he is very sharp physically and very slow in mental works. The fact was that at 11 he had energy of a 7-year-old and could not walk quickly enough from home to school. Of course, What he lacked by way of physical vitality, he made up in mental agility. This lack had sharpened his curiosity about birds, which he wanted to catch and bring home as pets. So he lingered on the way from anywhere, but as he could seldom catch one of these birds, he was always late, and then his other passion was to go fishing. Being a long business, he was frequently delayed. See how he getting late for his school because of the bird watching and the bird catching and his passion for and the passion for the fishing. On the day when they sang the Bangladesh song of Tagore at the end of the school hours, Abdul Latif lingered in the school premises to write down the words so that he could remember the whole poem by heart. He had the same feelings about the paddy fields and the Padma and the fisherman's cry. It is the Padma is the name of the river here, as the poet had, but he had not found words of his own to explain to his father and mother why he had stolen a papaya from Jalal's garden and how he had been nearly drowned in the river when his companion gave him a duckling and how Ali had saved him. He, his waywardness had been dubbed as a kind of idiocy by his father, though his mother excused the slow crawl home of Abdul Latif in spite of the anxiety she felt when he did not turn up until hours after hours the other boys. As he hoped to recite to his mother the words of the Bangladesh poem, he felt he had an ability today. Having copied the song, he salaamed his master, Elias, solemnly and fairly ran towards home, a mile away. Even if they had opened a school in the Nadinagar hamlet of fishermen, where his father and mother made clay pots, he would still have preferred to walk to and back from school in the big village Rangpur because Master Ilyas recited new poems during every period, while there was no poetry in his native place except the fisherman's song, Hayya Hayya, as they pulled the boats upstream. So here we can understand how the Abdul is a character and always thinking about the bird catching and the fishing, and he tried to pay attention to his school also, and his father always called him as a cracked pot. Here we can understand the beginning of the story is about the character of the Abdul Latif and the particular words from the poetry he want to recite, that is my golden Bangladesh. The word golden seemed to lift the broken down huts of Nadinagar in his mind and give them charm which he had never felt before, and he was reconciled to the idea of reaching home sooner or later. Meanwhile, he decided, as usual, to drift towards the Padma to catch fish for the even meal. He sighted his friend Ali, the son of fisherman Jain ul Abdin, already proceeding towards the side figures and much despised by everyone except by Abdul Latif. "O Ali," Abdul shouted. Ali did not stop. "O Ali," Abdul prolonged his shout after taking a deep breath. Ali did not stop but began to run, taking cover behind the trunks of fallen trees on the track leading to the lagoon of the Padma. See, in a panic of not knowing why his friend was evading him, Abdul began to run and chase Ali. He was soon out of breath because his stubby little frame had never put in so much exertion. He stopped and shrieked, Ali, Ali, oh Ali. As Ali did not heed his call, Abdul looked hard at the dissolving figure of his schoolfellow and felt angry with frustration that his friend, who usually waited at home to go to fishing with him in exchange for the gram which Abdul gave him, ignored him, was something unusual. Abdul was sure that Ali had heard his call. He even thought the fellow had turned round to look at him. But then the fisher boy had deliberately run away and was hiding somewhere. Perhaps he had stolen sweets from his mother's box and wanted to eat them alone. Abdul nearly wanted to cry. See, Abdul had one friend called Ali and he went for the fishing with Ali. But today, in this particular event, Ali never stopped for him and running towards the river. But Abdul never, Abdul tried to call him, but Ali never listened to him, and Abdul think that he had stolen sweets from his mother's box and wanted to eat them alone. He don't want to give it to the Abdul Abdul. So here we can understand the first event how Abdul is a boy and try to pay attention to his school, and the next part Abdul dis- in the meal period and the recess period, he went to his friend for the fishing, but Ali never pay attention to him and run away from him and never give his attention to Abdul. Now he sat down on the stump of a tamarind tree which had been freshly cut down. He saw Ali ahead, jumping out from behind one failed banana tree after another. Here he saw Ali and see how he is jumping from one place to another place. He sat down on the stump of a tamarind tree which had been freshly cut down. He saw Ali ahead, jumping out from behind one failed banana tree after another. But why had all the trees in the grove by lagoon been felled? He craned his neck to look beyond the failed plantain trees to keep Ali within sight, even though his friend had not stopped. The boy was still hopping from behind one shelter to another. As soon as he had breathed, Abdul felt he would go and catch Ali. Suddenly he had the feeling that he was like one of his father's empty pitchers, which had cracked. He could not even make a sound. He remembered his father's words, "My son, you are as yet unbroken clay. We can fill you with empty words and you will remain intact. As soon as we fill you with water, you will begin to leak." This reminded him that he had been asked to come direct from school and take the donkey with the loaded pitchers to Rangapur to Bania Mukhia's shop, not to be able to catch fish because Ali has deserted him, and to go back home to do the course for his father's Iqd Abdul. In his empty mind arose the verse which his mother always repeated after each fairy story. Why does a child cry? Oh, why, oh child, does thou cry? Oh, why does the ant bite me? Oh, why, ant does bite me? Good, good, good. Mother was funny. She was illiterate, but she had told him more stories than Master Ilyas had taught him poems. So, here we can understand in this particular part of the story how he thinking about his father, and his father was that he, he is going to take the donkey with the loaded peaches to Rangpur to Bania Mukhia's shop. The next part of that, the about Abdul Latif's mother, that she does not know what she is saying, he acknowledged, but she burburs like the water flowing in the main stream of the Padma. She says it is a good thing to have no sense of why and how and what, but the rely on Allah Mia. And her complaint against his father was that he had not brought her a mat to say 5 prayers all these years, nor taught her the surahs of the Quran. Father said he was no need for prayers to Allah Mia. Why could not she pray to him? And he had been brooding by himself, sitting on the stump of the tamarind tree. He saw the bulk of the tree further down in a pit and discovered a monstrous army tank by the side. Why were 2 dead soldiers? Here, actual story begins that he went to that tamarind tree cut down, and he is thinking about his mother and father, and at the same time he saw the dead bodies of 2 soldiers. Here we will stop for today. In the next lecture we will see the remaining part of the story.